before President Trump took the oath of office, pardoned family members because he thought, given the climate of the time, that they might be targeted by the next president and his administration.
Which is interesting because usually when you get these presidential pardons, it's usually people have committed some nefarious act. But this says very little about, it doesn't say anything about the people who are getting these pardons. They have not done anything wrong.
Right, they are preemptive.
Right, well, and to that point, Zoe, you think of Dr. Anthony Fauci, who was also issued a pardon this morning by former President Joe Biden, also the January 6th committee. Again, President Biden trying to preserve some legacy, preserve the people that he cares about. Hunter Biden, of course, pardoned just a few months ago as well. And yes, earlier, Leslie, to your point, earlier in the day, we know that the Trumps were welcomed to the White House by the Bidens. They had, they had tea together in a show of unity. Again, this peaceful transfer of power. It's so much ceremony, so much tradition, but that's the point.
And it's also a message to the world as well. It's not just us here watching in the United States, but let us point out as well, we have not seen this moment right here in terms of the tradition since the Obamas left office.
That is correct, because at the time, outgoing President Trump and outgoing First Lady Melania Trump did not attend the inauguration, were not there for these moments. And so it has been a departure from protocol. And now, as we can see, the Bidens moving closer to taking their next steps toward what destiny awaits them.
I would love to be a fly on the wall and hear what they're telling each other right now.
Well, Leslie, you mentioned earlier, when you think of the magnitude of this moment, how bitter this campaign has been, the campaign trail on both sides, and to see the civility here. And also, as President Biden departs, 50 years in office as a public servant in some capacity, what he has given to the United States, his legacy is something no doubt he's grappling with today as we watch that. He was supposed to be a transitional president out of Donald Trump, and yet here we are with Trump back for a second presidency.
Yeah, and there's been sort of that drama as well behind the scenes, because we know that initially President Biden said he would run. He would serve just one term, but we know that he wanted to run again. He wanted to serve again, obviously dropping out of the race, the presidential race last summer. And he assumed that, he was confident moving forward, saying that he could win again.
To be clear, this is not the ending that President Biden wanted.
Right.
And so historians and history will punctuate his time in office with the passage of time. But it had to be, even though this was the day that this had to happen, quite an emotional day for him, given the fact that he spent most of his life in public service to the nation. And so, as we see here, this peaceful transition moves on. President Biden and First Lady Dr. Jill Biden are preparing to take off now to go to Air Force.
Should be Joint Base Andrews.
Joint Base Andrews. Sorry, I had a little.
And then they're heading back home. They're heading to California from here.
That's right.
From Joint Base Andrews.
That's right. And the Trumps will go back and get into the next level of their sort of inaugural things. There's a luncheon that will take place that we know about. There are other things that will happen with family. And then, of course, they will head to the modified parade gathering at Capital One Arena that we're all still trying to figure out what that is going to be. And we don't actually know fully yet how that's going to manifest, so we'll be watching it together.
But things have been different this time around. We had the rally, the victory rally last night, which we have not seen before. In terms of a president before they addressed the crowd there for the inaugural address. But you can see the chopper getting ready to take off as the Bidens bid adieu to Washington.
I do want to note, Zoe, you were talking about the rally yesterday at the Cap One Arena. It was packed, and on top of it, J.D. Vance was there. He was in attendance. He was scheduled to speak, and instead of him taking the stage, among others who took the stage, say the Village People were performing, we saw Elon Musk notably featured on the stage there. And so, today we know this is where the inauguration pomp and circumstance, the parade, so to speak, is going to happen. People have been waiting in line. 3 a.m. was one person I heard talking about being out there in the frigid D.C. cold, waiting to see Donald Trump.
They just want to be part of it. And even the people who couldn't get in, you hear from them, they talk about security as well. We know there was that assassination attempt over the summer. So this is their guy. They want him to be protected. If that means they don't get to see him in person It sounds like a lot of them are okay with that, but they just want to be here in D.C. amongst other Trump supporters and celebrate this moment.
They want to be here so they could see whatever they could see, right? However they could see it, just to be here in this space to absorb history up close and personal. Again, we are waiting for the Bidens to head off to Joint Base Andrews. I guess it's going to take a moment. We know that President Biden left a note for President Trump. And so none of us will ever really know about that unless it comes out at some point.
Yes.
But we know that part of the tradition continued today as well.
He was asked what the note said, but he said that's between him and Trump.
That's between
so
him
perhaps
and
Trump
Trump.
will release it a little later on.
That's tradition,
Yeah,
right?
we're
And
keeping with
yes.
tradition here,
Yes.
and the Bidens have made it a point to keep up with that as well.
I will be clear, we are awaiting to hear from, now former President Biden when he gets to Andrews later today. He's going to make a speech, we do believe. And of course, we just heard him address the nation about a day ago where he was warning about the threat of an oligarchy with these, tech billionaires now being so firmly in the fold. And here we go, wheels up.
Wheels up, and they are headed off.
I wonder when they feel the weight of the job lifted.
Right.
When do you, is it at
Is
the
it
moment?
this moment?
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you
Is it
go-
like, when
when
you're
you-
like, I'm done,
I'm done.
I
Good
cannot do
luck.
anything because I'm in a chopper. But
Yes.
it's such a tough and demanding job. Just think 4 years.